Hello, everyone. I'm Kim Rowell, and it gives me the greatest pleasure to be able to introduce this next session at Kindfest2023. Neil Schambra Stevens is a people strategist and business coach who focuses on well-being and productivity in the workplace. He believes better business is achieved by emerging leaders who practice kindness, gratitude, momentum, and resilience. With nearly 3 decades of C-level experience with Fortune 500 brands and having worked across Europe, Asia, and the USA, Neil's latest book, A Bad Hand Played Well, How to Own Your 90,000 Hours at Work, has already been described as a thought-provoking must-read for anyone curious about reconfiguring their working world. Neil, thank you for joining me here today.
Thank you, Kim. That's, there's some big statistics in there, 30 years and then 90,000 hours. That feels...
30 decades, you're not that old, surely.
Yeah, I am, but thank you.
Now, I wanted to start with the term, or it's a term that you've coined, of actionable kindness. And I think you've actually trademarked that, haven't you? Could you explain the notion behind it for me?
Absolutely. I think that kindness, my background's in sort of PR and marketing, and I think kindness sometimes has a bit of a brand image in that people think it's something that is soft, that it's random. We talk about random acts of kindness, which is great. And we see it on logos, on T-shirts and bags and things like that, which also gets it out there. Mm-hmm. But I feel, and I believe others feel the same, that it's actually, kindness is an action. It's a mindset. There's nothing random about it, in my opinion. And I believe that the more intentional that you can be in the way that you use kindness, particularly in the workplace, but in day-to-day life as well, that it adds an extra little sort of edge to it and dimension to it, because the power of kindness, the impact that it has, is considerable. And I think just giving it that, a bit of dynamism, a bit of an edge to it, actually gets people to think slightly differently about it, which is a lot of the things that I'm trying to do with the work that I'm doing to kind of reframe and rethink how we view kindness and how we view kindness at work.
That's really interesting. I mean, the festival this year has got a broad theme of investing in kindness, with a nod to the cost of living crisis, but also how to thrive in the aftermath of the pandemic, with so many people doing what has been called quietly quitting, and the repercussions of the great resignation, as it's called, still being felt. So with that as a backdrop, how would you say that we should go about trying to make the world of work more palatable?
Well, I think, first of all, I think that the fact that we had the Great Resignation, 4 million people in 1 month in the US in April 2021 quit their jobs.
Wow.
It's a real statement, right? That people have just had enough. Enough is enough. And whether it's quiet quitting or, whatever label we want to, the great reshuffle, whatever, great words, but let's actually put some action to it. And I think what I'm trying to do with the coaching work that I do is instill this notion of that there are things that are in your control that you can do differently. We've seen that we can't really rely on companies for our security or our happiness, let's be honest. But it's up to us to bring that level of comfort and daily joy and the things that are in our control. So what I try to do is set in motion, and that's sort of the idea with the 90,000 hours. Look at where you are on your personal journey. Then everyone has a unique number. You were flattering me saying, "Oh, you don't know that." My numbers, I've got about 30,000 hours left. I'll be transparent. Other people have 50,000, 60,000. What is it that you want to do with that? How can you take back control of your sort of working journey and use kindness, use gratitude, use some of the words you mentioned in the intro to make a difference to you in your life and the work that you choose to do, and not be so beholden to companies and sort of the working week, if you will. And I think the pandemic shifted things. I think it broke the business model of work forever. We've not seen this sort of impact for many, many years. And it's an opportunity. And I think some people are taking it, but others could do an awful lot more. And that's my motivation. I'm very enthused by the prospect of what we can do with kindness at work, and by bringing it back to more into our control and what we want individually.
I find it fascinating because I always say no matter how much you love your job, it's not going to love you back. And I think that probably stems from my own experience of having been made redundant 3 times. And those 3 times happened in the space of 5 years. So it took me a while to realize it wasn't necessarily about me. It was about the strategies behind the companies making these decisions and what they were doing and how they were restructuring and realigning their KPIs and all of that kind of thing. But it's really interesting because your new book, A Bad Hand Played Well, How to Own Your 90,000 Hours at Work, is built around the fact that you just alluded to, we spend 90 hours of our lives at work. And the only thing we spend more time doing is sleeping, although sleep for some people is also maybe not that much of a continuous process. But can you talk to me more about, I mean, because that figure itself, that's compelling, isn't it? The whole 90,000 as a number.
Yeah.
When I first heard about your book, I was like, blimey, that actually shook me, because it both sounds like a lot, but also not very much as well. So what was your inspiration? How did you come to this as a project, also as a, idea?
Sure. And I think it's there's 2 things really. There's 2 inspirations. One is a personal thing and one is a professional. So the personal was, the book is dedicated to my mum and it's dedicated to my 2 children. And I'm sort of in the middle. So in terms of creating that bridge, that legacy. Now, my mum was a writer and a poet, and she loved words, and she was a very, very kind person, and she instilled a lot of values in me. And then I look at my children, who are 13 and 15, and I think they're going to be coming into the workplace in 10 years. What is the impact that I can create through the legacy of my mum's words? And I'm not comparing myself to my mum, because she was a brilliant writer, although I'm slightly biased. And what is the legacy that I can create for my children to make work a better place to be, a kinder place? And as I started to do this research, I thought, well, we do spend 90,000 hours of our lives at work. And then I love numbers, so I started digging in further. And 1 in 6 people in the Netherlands are out on burnout leave. Okay, 57% of employees in the US and Canada feel stressed every day.
Wow.
In the UK, the impact of burnout on mental health issues impacts the economy to the tune of £35 billion a year. That's £1,300 per employee. And the overall impact globally is over $1 trillion on the global economy through burnout, mental health issues. And it's there in plain sight. But why would we continue working in the same way, knowing all this information? And it's a fairly complex issue there, but I've tried to simplify and say, okay, strip it away. You've got 90,000 hours in total from the beginning to the end. What do you want to do with it? And like you say, I mean, I've been made redundant as well. Sadly, you mentioned 3 times. It happens. The chances of somebody having one of those 30, 40-year careers, maybe like my father did, or an older generation, not going to happen. Not going to happen. And I truly think that there is an opportunity. The impact that we have on when with redundancy and layoffs is huge, considerable, particularly now in the cost of living crisis, right?
Yeah.
How much we give up in those moments, how much control we give up and say, okay, I didn't make this decision. I didn't want to be in this place. I loved my job. I enjoyed it. I loved the whole thing about it. Okay, I have to pull myself up. What is it that I want to do? What are my skills? What are my values? What do I think? Because life is a bad hand played well sometimes. And that's the notion for the book, that sometimes things are out of your control. But honestly, Kim, there's a lot of things that are actually in your control on a day-to-day basis. Like, just bring it down to the day-to-day. Talk about gratitude. Talk about kindness. Talk about the things that are really important to you in the moment. Because there isn't like a parallel universe going on. This conversation that we're having now is live. It's not like it's happening somewhere else. We're having it now. And I think that knowing that this is it, this is our moment, this is what we have, the chance that we have, and take it,
Yeah,
I find really inspiring.
it can be really exciting, can't it? And like you say, it's more around potentially normalizing the conversation around things like redundancy or moments where you feel like you might have failed, and making that okay. Because the amount of people that I've said, oh, I've been made redundant 3 times, and they will then turn around to me and be like, oh yeah, actually that last job I was made redundant from that, but they were fearful of saying it, they were fearful of admitting it. But then, like you just alluded to, it gave me an opportunity each time to take stock, because I'll be rumbling along in my career without actually really thinking, am I happy? Is this what I want? Am I working in the right industry? And it allowed me to actually have that headspace to really think about those things, which some people just don't have the bandwidth or capacity to do. But taking it back to your book, which is a fantastic mix of best practices and pitfalls to avoid, as well as wisdom and anecdotes, all rooted in kindness, gratitude, and resilience. Would you be happy to read us a short extract from it?
Yes, I'd be delighted. I'd be delighted. So one of the things that I'm trying to do with this is encourage people to sort of re-look and rethink about the familiarity that we have to work. And so what I've done with this particular, I'm going to read the intro to a chapter. And if you don't, if I said bom 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 bom, what's that?
That's Queen, isn't it?
Right?
Yeah.
Queen Under Pressure.
Yeah.
If you listen to the words, they're really impactful. That's my premise. Is like, take something that feels familiar, think again and re-look and have another think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So the chapter is kind, clear, and simple. And it opens with David Bowie and Queen Under Pressure. Because love's such an old-fashioned word. And love dares you to care for the people on the edge of the night. And love dares you to change our way of caring about ourselves. This is our last dance. This is our last dance. This is ourselves. The future of business is kind. If we don't start recognizing this, it will be our last chance, our last dance to fix things. We don't need more labels to describe the problems with work. We need action now. There is a countdown clock on my website of the days, hours, and minutes until 2025. It's a daily reminder to many a corporation or brand who proudly promotes their well-intentioned targets related to social and environmental policies and goals. The clock is literally ticking. It's an opportunity to be meaningful with some of our 90,000 hours, to make a difference to people and the way we work together. Brands are like little ecosystems. Everybody has a part to play, a contribution to make. Where do you want to do your best work? In what environment? There's an opportunity to rethink and rebuild, especially if you want to start your own thing. I believe that kindness is the #1 regenerative strategy for any business. Invest in the people that you have. Avoid the burn and churn mentality. Be clear in your truth and your values. If it's not clear and simple, your people won't understand. And if they don't understand, they won't follow. It's as simple as that. How complicated you want to make it is up to you. Just remember that business is human. It's about people working for people. This is our last dance. We have a chance to do things differently. Take it now.
Like, I should applaud you. That was really powerful. That was really powerful. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, obviously that's just one little snippet of the overall piece, but what are you hoping will be the audience's takeaway from reading it? What are you hoping from an impact point of view?
I'm hoping that it sort of will give people hope and permission to think about things differently. And people put a lot of attention on work as sort of the be all and end all, and it's important. You know, we need to make money to provide for ourselves and our families and all those things. I'm not sort of being reckless here. But I do think that there's a disproportionate amount of pressure on people to succeed, and definitions of success is job, is status, is money, is wealth. And I think that during the pandemic, a lot of that got stripped away, and we realized our health and well-being was front and center every day. And people were like, well, hang on, what is this thing called work? You know, how is it that I've been commuting to the office, spending, 2-3 hours a day on the tube or a bus or whatever? You know, what does it really mean? So I really want people to kind of to rethink. And it's a gentle journey. I mean, it's written like prose, so people can kind of dip in and take little bits, little snippets. Some are a couple of lines, some are sort of longer, more article length pieces. And just to really give ourselves hope and belief and self-belief that we can make a difference for ourselves first, because it all starts with ourselves, being kind to ourselves and then being kind to others.
Absolutely. Have you got, I mean, this is your second book, isn't it? Have you got any other projects in the work, or you just, obviously this is literally just about out now, isn't it? So I'm sure you want to see and take a breath and enjoy the reception, I'm sure. But what's next on your to-do list?
It's funny you should say that. It's because it was released on October the 24th. And as I was sort of finishing it up, I was writing notes, and you have to kind of condense and write sort of bits and pieces. And I'm like, well, actually, I've got another book. I've got another book in my head.
Uh-oh.
And it's all about numbers, and it's about time. I mean, there are 1,442 minutes in any day. Whoever you are in the world, that's all we got. Nothing more, nothing less. What do you want to do with that? So yeah, there's another book, there's a podcast, and there's still my coaching. I mean, that's my bread and butter, if you will. I'm a coach to creatives and strategists and marketeers. So brilliant. That's my day job, if you will. And I think that the book is just, it's part of it. You know, people say, oh, you're an author, you're right. And I'm like, no, I'm not. So it's just a ways and a means of connecting and communicating kindness to people is the intention. Trying to make a difference and enabling people to be seen and to be heard and to be valued. So that's everything that I do. That's my mission.
And where can people go if they want to find out more about you and what you're doing? So
go to mercuryjam.com. So Mercury Jam Coaching is my coaching consultancy. If you've liked what you've heard, please go to Amazon.com, and my book is available there. And if you could write a review, that'd be awesome. And I'm also on Instagram and LinkedIn. So just connect and engage, and I'd welcome a conversation if you want to have a chat. So
brilliant. Yeah. Thank you so much, Neil. I really enjoyed speaking with you today.
No, thank you, Kim. It's been a pleasure. Thanks.
And thank you to everyone that's helped us to organise Kindfest2023. A remarkable group of volunteers have lovingly created this event for you, and together we call ourselves Team Kind. And you can find out more about the work that we do at www.teamkind.org.uk.